Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Leonard Young with MBG Private Lending. Glad to be a part of the Buildings Over Bags online real estate summit presented by Her Wealth, Her Way. We are an official lending partner with Her Wealth, Her Way, and we're going to speak about some of the programs that we have available. So the first one is what we consider our no income, no credit lender. So this would be a situation where, let's say there's an investor who has a property. Let's say that property is free and clear and there's equity in it. But because of their personal income or their credit, they are not able to pull any equity out of that property. So through this program, the property owner is able to pull up to 50% of the equity out of that property. That equity that they pull out has to at least be a $50,000 minimum. And we know that through the lender, the closing cost and the interest rate will be a little bit higher, because there's minimal documentation required to complete this loan. The points would be around 6 points. The interest rate would be around 18% interest, and the term of the loan can be up to 12 months. So just for an example, let's say someone has a property that is valued at $200,000, free and clear. Through this program, they can pull out up to 50% of the equity, so that would be $100,000. We know that through the loan, the closing costs, we're estimating them at about $8,000. And that means after closing, they would walk away with $92,000. Now, let's just say that investor planned to take this $92,000 and do a fix and flip. Okay, if we estimated that they were planning to take about 5 months to complete the fix and flip, we know that that the holding cost would be about $8,000. And we calculate that because we know at 18%, the $100,000 would make payable a monthly interest-only payment of $1,500. If we multiply that times 5, that gives us $7,500, but we're just going to round up to $8,000. Okay, now the ideal situation now is that we would look for a property that we can purchase and rehab under $84,000. Okay, so maybe this is a property that we purchased for $50,000 and then it's $30,000 in rehab. That gives us $80,000. Okay, so on the flip side, since we know that we have to pay back this $100,000 in 12 months or less, we know that, and actually, I'm sorry, for this situation, we're doing it in 5 months. So we know that after we rehab this property, that the ARV has to at least be $110,000. Now, why 110? Because when we sell the property, we know that there's going to be some closing costs, there's going to be some fees, and that's going to be subtracted from the $110,000. But we want to make sure that we still have enough to repay the $100,000 loan that we originally took out. So in an ideal situation, and maybe better than ideal, let's say that the property appraised for $130,000, and that was going to be what our selling price was going to be. If we subtract the $84,000 for the purchase and the rehab, we subtract the $8,000 for the holding costs for those 5 months, and we subtract $6,000, which we expect to be our fees and commission and closing costs when we sell the property, that would give us an overall profit of $32,000. So that right there is not too bad for a property that originally we could not pull any equity out of. Okay, so our second program is what we consider our program via a traditional rental loan. So this would be, if we can imagine a scenario where there's a property and maybe a multi-unit, up to 4 units, non-owner occupied, that we are looking to buy. We can get a traditional real estate loan where the lender will cover 75% of the purchase price. So with that said, the minimum amount of the loan has to be $100,000. So we know that the purchase price would have to be $133,000 or more, and we know that it would be a 15 to a 30-year loan. We know that we would have to do full verification to qualify for this loan. So basically, we had to submit tax returns, income statements, pay stubs, bank records, all the documents that are commonly needed. And we know that the interest rate would be anywhere between 5 and 9%. So just for a visual example, let's say we find a property that is selling for 150,000. We know that we are going to have to come with 25% of that of the purchase price. So we are going to need about $37,500. Okay. The lender or the mortgage will cover the rest. So the mortgage is going to be for $112,500. Let's say we got best terms. So the term of the mortgage is going to be 30 years. Interest rate is going to be 7%. And we know that our monthly payment will be about $750 a month. So for the people looking to buy a property that does not need to be rehabbed, they just want to buy something that's almost like a turnkey property, maybe has renters already in it, this would be the option for you. And our third lender would be our fix and flip lender, or our 90%, 100% lender, where for properties that were residential or multi-units up to 4 units, we would fund up to 90% of the purchase price, up to 100% of the rehab. The ARV for the purchase and the rehab would have to be less than 75%. There is a $100,000 loan minimum, and the interest rate usually ranges between 9 and 12% interest. So just for an example of how this may work. Okay, so if we have a property that we see that we're interested in buying, rehabbing, and then selling or refinancing, this scenario we'll just do selling. If we purchase a property for $80,000, we know that it's going to need about $50,000 in rehab. So that means that the total that we will be putting into this property will be $130,000. So let's say the ARV, the after repair value for this property, is $200,000. We know that this does fit in our less than 70% of the ARV because it comes out to $140,000. Our total is going to be less than that. It's going to be $130,000. So let's say we submit this property and it comes back with the following terms. So we get approved for 80% of the purchase price and 90% of the rehab price. Okay. Along with that, they give us a 10% interest rate, and they give us a 12-month loan, and they let us know that our closing costs are going to be about $6,000. Okay, so now we know that since they gave us 80% of the purchase price, we're going to have to come with 20% of the purchase price. So we know that 20% of 80 is going to be $16,000. They're going to cover the other $64,000, and for the rehab, they're going to cover 90%. So that means we have to come with our 10%, which is going to be $5,000. They're going to cover $45,000. We know that the cost to close on this property is going to be our $16,000, which is going to be our 20% that we're putting in, plus $6,000 in closing costs, which is going to total about $22,000. Okay. Now, in parentheses, you see the plus the $5,000, and that's going to be for the rehab, because we know that when rehab starts, we are going to have to not only pay for that first phase of rehab, which is usually demo, and then get reimbursed. But in order to complete that $50,000 rehab, we are going to have to put $5,000 of our own money into it. With the 10% interest rate, we know that our monthly interest-only loan that we're going to be paying back during this 12-month period is going to be about $900 a month, and we can multiply that by however many months that we think it's going to take to complete this project. So in an ideal situation with these numbers, we could expect a profit anywhere between $40,000 and $55,000. Okay, so you know that's why the rehab loan is such a great idea for fix and flips, because it just offers us an opportunity that when we find that ideal property, the numbers look good, the rates are good, you know, we can expect to make a good profit from it. So these are the programs that we have through Her Wealth, Her Way. If you are interested in getting more information, you can go to Her Wealth, Her Way, click on the funding tab up top, submit a brief inquiry form, and we'll definitely follow up with you to see what program is best for you. So again, my name is Leonard Young. I'm glad to be a part of the Buildings Over Bags campaign with Her Wealth, Her Way. You can contact me directly via mbgprivatelending.com. You can also follow on Instagram at MBG Private Lending as well. If you have any direct questions, you can shoot us an email through the website, or you can send us a DM via social media. Thank you and happy investing.